You're listening to Creative Campfire, where creatives like you come to talk shop, share stories, and light the path for one another. Whether you're here to learn, grow, or feel a little less alone, welcome to the fire. Today, we're diving into some really exciting topics, including creative process behind stunning images, the power of personal projects, email marketing, and all the nuances that go in with checking that massive list. But before we get there, I have some really exciting news. We are bringing back Pitch Essentials. Yes, it's coming back this February. After witnessing such incredible results from our October cohort, we're eager to bring you new case studies and share the latest of our learnings. For all the details, head over to the show notes or go to course.twolovesstudio.com/pitch-essentials. Now, let's jump into the show. Hey everybody, super excited to bring this eye-popping, colorful, exuberant, Florida-based food, beverage, and I'd even say a little bit of lifestyle in there. Nature lover. If you don't follow her stories, you should. The incredibly talented Suzanne Clements. Suzanne, it's so exciting to have you here.
To hear you say those things. I would love you to call me every day. Just say that every day.
You got it. I will just leave it in I will just send you voice notes every day to be like, you're amazing, super eye-catching, doing Uber.
I would pay for that. Sounds great. Deal.
For those that don't follow you and don't know about your work, which, I mean, they're going to be like obsessed, because just so you know, right before we got on this podcast and started chatting, I was chatting with my buddy, Ricky, who, for those that listen to the podcast, you've heard me talk about Ricky before, over at Double the Sugar Studios. He's here in London and he does super colorful, like product-based work. And he's looking for some new inspiration. And I said, hey, guess who I'm interviewing today? You should go check out her work. And he's like, oh, you have to tell her on the podcast so I could hear it in the recording that you told her that I should go look at her work.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Exactly. But for those that don't know a little bit about you, give us kind of give us a little sneak peek behind the curtain.
Hey, you don't want the history. You just want day to day.
Well, you can give us, the snapshot. Like when I was 5, I bought a lollipop and I was obsessed.
Oh, definitely. But I would say, I think one of my most interesting historical things is that I was never interested in photography. So in high school, I got a 65 out of 100. But I did the basic work. I made friends with somebody in class that the teacher didn't like, so he never let me into the dark room to develop anything. Well, I should say I would raise my hand, but he would never pick me. I could have been like, hello, I haven't had my homework done. But, I was also just like, whatever, this guy's a jerk. So, but I remember being like, I loved the dark room. I loved the whole process and watching it just appear. Like it was just magic. Yeah. But like what I photographed was just like, okay, boop. Like you need a picture of a bird. Here's a bird. Like I just wasn't invested. And to me, it was always just a side tool for what else I was doing, which was illustration and painting and stuff like that. So fast forward to college, I got a C.
You were very average.
I was very average. I was phoning it in. But again, still really loved the dark room and loved the process. But I could recognize photographers' work that was like compelling and interesting. And I was like, I don't know what motivates them and how that happens. But it was just like, it just didn't click for me. Because I was like, I'm a manual artist. I'm going to put paint on a canvas. I'm going to put pencil on paper, charcoal, like all of that was to me what art was for me. And it wasn't until I had my final exhibition as a painter that I was sort of like, are we allowed to swear? I'll just say, I was like, F this, I'm done, I'm fed up. Because I ended up getting like this large solo show here in Orlando, which should have been amazing, but they forced me to go back to an older type of work that I was doing, like a different body of work. Cause they were like, well, that's what we gave you the show based on. And I was like, but that was a year ago. And this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah. I moved on.
They were like, yeah, like I've already exercised those demons. They're done. They're done. And they were like, nope, we want those demons back. So resurrect them and do it again. And I had a huge amount of wall space. I just was like, this is horrible. And then I started realizing that I could make art with the camera. Like the camera could be the tool. And that was
was
huge
the shift.
It was huge because you know what? Like sitting there for 60 hours on one flippin' painting and then stepping back and going like, oh my God, if that had just been here by like 1 inch. And you're like, F this painting. Like, I never want to see it again.
Start over.
Yeah. And then when I was like using the camera, I'm like, whoa, this is instant. And not only that, but like, you can do so much stuff with it. It's an insane piece of equipment. You can make the shutter open for way longer. You can play with noise. You can play with all kinds of stuff that like, yeah, you can play with stuff with paint too. But like, there was so much more to it that I don't think any teacher actually pointed that out to me when I was in high school or college. It was the assignment that they were focused on, not the broad depth that this tool could give you.
Right. Or the process to get to that image.
Yeah. 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 Like, I think they were just trying to filter out the people who didn't care, which was me. But they didn't give us anything to be inspired by either at the time.
And I think that's a true, like, I don't know, like that's like teaching to the book versus like teaching to like love the thing that you're teaching.
Yeah.
Right. Like as a little side story, my dad was a physical education teacher for 34 years and he taught middle school. And so growing up, he'd always ask my brother and I like, oh, what are they doing in PE? Like, what are they teaching you in PE? And I'm like, oh, well, you know, my teacher, like we just go out and we're playing volleyball. And he's like, okay, so how are they teaching you how to play volleyball? And I'm like, he gives us the ball and shows us where the court is. Right. And my dad's like, so you're not doing any skill building, or he's not teaching you how to do the scorekeeping or the different rotations of positions on the court. So you actually could go to a game and know what's happening. And I was like,
right. Yeah.
No. And my dad would teach that kind of stuff, like these small skill building things. And then actually like you get to the match or the game or whatever.
Wow.
And so that was like, you know, so I have a real love of sport because I love the game. Like I get some of the strategy, I get how it's played, whether I play it or not. And I think that is, if you take that and you mirror that to the arts,
yeah,
like that's a little bit disappointing, you know, like they could have said like, hey, this is an amazing tool. And if you adjust this, you get this effect. And if you adjust that, you get that effect. And we really want you to go play with those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your subject may be a bird.
Or an egg, actually. It was very specific. One was an egg. And I was like, here's an egg. But like, I think the biggest thing too, though, by the time that I put painting away and said, no, I'm done with that, it was digital. So
yeah, no more darkroom that you loved.
Well, yes, no darkroom. However, the expense of learning was gone. So you didn't have to shoot a roll of film and then realize, oh shit, you know, like I exposed this incorrectly, or my focus was off, or whatever. And it didn't cost me like $15 to learn that every time. I could just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat endlessly. And
then you're like, oh, obsessive. I got it. What was that?
Yeah. Can I do it again?
Yeah. Can I do it again?
Yeah.
I think this is one of the things that I think is kind of the magic of where the world we live in now is, like photographers. There was a photographer that Lauren and I talked about on our Q&A episode, which was like, you know, how do I find my style? And we talked about exactly this, right? That you can just shoot off all these photos, but the joy of going back and looking at your archive and being like, well, what stands out to me? Like, what do I really like here in these, you know, this set of 10 images that I took? And you're like, I really like that one. And then being like, but why?
But why? Yeah. Like what makes your pupils go like, whoop, and your heart go,
yeah. Exactly. You know, like why? And then as you shoot more and more and more and you start to collect those, you know, 5-star photos that you like of your work, and then you can start putting them together and then look at them in a more like discerning way and saying like, well, you know, all of these have really hard shadows.
Yeah.
Or, all of these are like, all of these are like framed. Like
Yeah.
clearly I like that composition.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's interesting too, because actually, most notably, I think other people notice your style probably before you do. And I have a niece, it's my brother's daughter, and like it was during the pandemic, I started shooting for Delish, and she was over visiting, and she had the magazine because it was printed at the time, and she was like, "This is yours. That's yours. That's yours." I'm like, "How?" Like, because sometimes you're not that. To me, I look at it and I'm like, well, like that could have been me, or that could have been me.
Yeah.
Like the we have a similar aesthetic. And she's like, "Nope, that's you." And I like, what? It's an
almost like you could
interesting
have played
thing.
a game with her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's got a really good eye for it, but I think it's also like it may be more obvious to other people what you're doing consistently. Like I can describe it now with a lot more intelligence than I could have if you talked to me like 3-4 years ago. I'd be like, I don't know, I just really like color.
Now, do you think that's because you've been shooting for more time, or is it because you've gotten outside like consultant? Like, have you, because I know you've been repped, like, I don't know if that's helped.
Well, so before I was repped, I had a consultant too. I worked with somebody who did not take my shit. Well, I wasn't giving shit, but you know what I mean? Like, was like, they would call you out on stuff and be like, this is not that good. Maybe you need to, here's what's not working. This is why it doesn't seem to fit. And having that outside perspective, I know it sounds cruel, but like I interviewed, I think 4 people for consulting to just like take a look at my work and help push me. Cause that's what I wanted. I was like, I can see that I'm in this like place where I'm kind of treading water. And I really just want to feel like I have an idea of what needs to happen and what needs to be improved. And I'm in my own head. I have pictures in my portfolio that I'm emotionally attached to that aren't that good, but like they were so hard to do and I want proof that I did it or whatever,
Right.
And so everybody that I talked to was like, "Oh, there's just this something about your work, or it's really pretty and I don't think I would change a thing," and blah, blah, blah. And then this guy, he's like, "I don't know. I think you've got potential, but you definitely need some work." And I was like, "You're the one."
Yeah.
I want somebody to like crack the whip and expose the cracks so that I can
and push you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like that's the whole thing, is like to push you. And this is it's interesting. So a really good friend of mine, Rachel Kornack, is in the midst of redoing her portfolio, and the same thing. So she hired a consultant for the same, very similar reasons, where she was like, I don't want to do this old body of work, right? Kind of like your museum idea. Like I've exercised those demons.
Yes.
I'm ready to step into like a new creative vision. And she was feeling very uneasy about it because it's very different than her old work. And she's like, I don't think it's going to resonate. I'm not sure if it's good enough. Like, where are the holes? Where are the cracks? And it's funny. So she had her first portfolio review. I hope she's not mad I'm telling the story, but she had this first portfolio review with the consultant, like after sitting down and being like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. She's been executing like a mad woman. And she told me, "Oh my God, Shelly, I'm so nervous for this meeting." And I was like, why? What's the apprehension here? I was like, the stuff you've been producing is at another level. Like you've really ratcheted up. And I'm like, I can sit here and pinpoint it for you if you want, but like, I don't want to spoil the fun you're going to have on this call. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, the person came back to them and was like, yeah, like it's really graphic and you do really, you do simple really well. And like all these things that she secretly says to herself that she does really well. And then this person validated all of that and was like, you don't need all that other stuff that you think you need. You just really need to lean heavy into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's
and
awesome.
So it sounds like that is kind of a through theme with you too, right? Having a consultant that can kind of push you, kind of call out your bullshit, be like, no, you got to cut those.
This image is bad. Or it's not as, maybe they didn't say that, but it was like, this is not strong. Of all of this stuff, this is like.
Right. So take that idea and re-execute it.
Right. Yeah. Pull it out, rethink about it, whatever you need to do. But like, if you really love what you did there, I bet you could do it better now,
Yeah.
Plus, whatever you did on that shoot, you learn from. Every time you shoot, you learn something. I swear.
So how do you think you up leveled to where you, like you said, now you can really talk about your work. You really know kind of the ins and outs and the intricacies of what makes you tick. Like, where do you think that, obviously it was through the consultancy and like, having an agent help you look at your work, but like, it's different when someone's telling you versus you feel it.
I think it's having conversations like this, actually. But I do think it's like conversations like this. So I've done a lot of portfolio reviews, through Workbook, and we got to hang out once at least at a Workbook hangout in the middle between meetings. But I think conversations like that and conversations with, the consultant, and then even podcasts like this, because people will say things and I'll go, that does make sense, like your whole painting background. And then I realize like my illustration and painting background, I think, is super critical to how I approach photography, because my post is very painterly. So, I'm working on set and I get something that I feel looks good, and the client goes, that looks good. And then I go into the computer and the client goes, that looks great. There's a lot
from C to A.
Yeah. It's like, yes. But it's an absolute process of, for me, having come from illustration and painting, where like you're creating a rendering of something that you see. And so what defines that object, that person, that thing? It's the texture. It's, what are the most, definable features that are going to say, this is you or this is that. And I subconsciously approach photography the same way, in that what is going to make somebody feel, taste, touch, smell, experience this item. And that's just subconsciously what I'm putting my focus on. And when I'm in Capture One, there's like 20 layers of this and that and this other thing. And I was working with my gaffer a couple weeks ago, and so he's got the lighting all set up, and I'm like, yep, that looks good. And then I go into Capture One and I just do like a little quick thing just to get a previs of what I'm going to do in post. And he's like, but my lighting should do that for you. And I'm like, it can't. Like, the camera is going to see light and dark how the camera sees it, but our actual human eye sees in high fidelity. It sees every variation, unless you're like, staring right into the sun. You can see all the nuance, but the camera can't see all of that nuance perfectly. And whatever you're photographing, whatever shapes it has in nooks and crannies, like if you were to try to recreate what the eye sees in lighting, I think you'd be there for hours.
You need a lot of lighting.
Yeah. And I don't know, this might be just me cheating, but like, yeah, maybe I should have, I don't know, 5 to 10 lights in this direction, and another 5 to 10 over here, and another 5 to 10 over here, and snoots and blah, 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 blah. But like, I also have a bank account that needs attention.
But I do think that there is, getting back to like process, right? Where it's, you take, your gaffer sets up all these lights and you're like, yeah, that's it. And this is then the processing, which is why we talk about like, you're never going to hand over a raw image to somebody because it has to be processed.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of that process, whether it's in the dark room or in the virtual dark room now.
Yes. It's burn and dodge. Like if you were old school, it's like, okay, this needs a little, that needs a little, like it's always been a part of the process. I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you, but yeah.
No, but that's my whole point, right? Is that I think that is the magic fairy dust that each of us bring to what we do, is like, that's what makes your work different from someone else that shoots bright poppy work, right? Is that magical touch of how you see the final image in your head and being able to express that through the post-production.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was also an aha moment that I think a lot of us have as we're getting to that point. We're like, I feel like my composition's really good. My styling is good. My lighting looks good, but there's something missing. And it's post. It's totally post. Like when you're there and you're like, I don't understand, I'm so close. It's post, right? Like you've got everything else dialed in. And then when you sit down and you really spend like an hour doing this and this and this and da 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 da. These are all the layers. And And then you step back and you're like, there it is. That's it. That is the step. I think for a lot of people, that's where it clicks. Now, when I was just doing strictly food, it was a very simple post because there wasn't a whole lot that I had to do. But when you're doing these like super minimal, super hyper real type things, then it's heavy post for sure.
So let's talk about some of that, because you've been experimenting quite a bit this year with some of that hyper real stuff, right? So some of that was people. You did this incredible thing with the skater girls, which I loved, which I definitely want to talk about, because I think that was like this big crew idea. And I want to know where that idea came from, who was involved, how did the story come about, who sketches it. You did stills and motion. And then on the flip side, we'll go the complete opposite direction. You did your floating fruit, like your pomegranate that looks like little jewel stones, or your, or what was your crazy bejazzled drink thing that you did?
Glam fast food.
That was it. Glam fast food. Yeah. So those were very like complete opposite, right? Like no people, product only. The pomegranate was just the pomegranate, like floating in air with chunks, where your glam fast food was hyper styled.
Holy
so
shit.
we kind of have these three very different shoots that manifested, I'm going to guess, in your head or with a partner. So let's walk through. You could choose whichever one you want to start with. We've set up the context here. Maybe we start more complex first. Let's start with the skater girls, maybe.
Sure. Okay, so here's what happens. I go, oh my God, here's what really, really happened. I felt so oppressed by marketing and trying to figure out all the secret code to getting your work out there. And then I got in with Erica, my agent now, and she's like, I don't know, I just really like your conceptual stuff. I think you need to lean into that. Show me what you could do. And I was like, yes! It was like having the best professor in college who was like, you know, that thing you really love doing, that's what you should do. Instead of being like, you know, you need to learn to do this first. And so she just like floodgates open. So what I do, this is a little dip into AI too, but AI is not generating the ideas. I'm batting ideas back and forth. So I get on my bike, I put in my headphones, I go to a trail with no cars and no trees when I'm doing this, because it's very hard to do if there's trees. So there's like this paved path by me that's just like endless. You could just keep looping it. So I go out there, I set it to, I'm talking to GPT conversationally, and I'm like, okay, here's what we're doing. I need you to keep track of all my ideas and just make a list as we're talking. And I'm just going to keep writing. And so I go for a ride for like an hour. I'm like, okay, I want to do something that I'm taking people who shouldn't be in a youthful situation and I'm putting them into it and they're having a blast. Okay. And then GPT is like, oh, I love that idea. Da, 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 da. And then it might be like, you know, you could think about maybe doing something outdoorsy or sports related or something. And I'm like, oh, you know, I always wanted to be a skateboarder, but I really sucked at it when I was in high school. But you know what? I think it's amazing now, as I'm a mountain biker, that there's so many women who are in their 50s and older still mountain biking and kicking ass. And I would love to transfer that over to skateboarding. GPT's like, oh, that's such a great idea. I'm going to write that down. It's like having this like buddy who's like, oh, your ideas are so great. And so it writes it down and I'm like, okay. And then it's going to be video and stills because I need both for my portfolio. So let's do like a hybrid shoot. Yeah. That sounds great. Da, 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 da. And then I'll be like, oh, I want to do this thing that's a food fight, or I want to do this totally stylized ice cream shoot and everybody's dressed like their ice cream cone. But I'm sitting there and I'm just da 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 for the whole hour of going in circles, literally on my bike and just throwing out ideas. And then I have to make, this is important, I have to make GPT repeat the whole list every time, which is time consuming because you might have another idea like ready to go. But if you don't make it tell you the whole list every time, it will forget stuff. So it's an imperfect tool. We are all imperfect. But so it goes through and it's like, okay, so we like the, you know, mature older generation doing youthful things. We like this ice cream. We want a food fight. We want to do this. Da 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 da. What's next? And so I do that for like an hour. Then I come back and I pull it all out of there and I put it into like a Google Doc that then I can refer to later that is like 20 pages long. So
Amazing.
when I need an idea, I can go in there, and not all of them are good. Like,
well, that's the point, right? I mean, This is brainstorming. Brainstorming is not always good ideas.
It is certainly not. But there's always like a kernel of something in there that's kind of cool that you want to play with. And maybe like your first idea was like, that's not going to work. So I wanted to do like a drive-through. I wanted to do this other thing where we got people goofing around like in shopping carts in the parking lot and having a fun time. Like, liability, maybe don't do that. Or, who's going to let you use their drive-through window? And, like just like the logistics of trying to do a test shoot and then have these other things in the mix was like, okay, maybe that's too complex. But then what I did for Mother Truckers, which is the skateboarding one, is I had a producer over in Tampa who wanted to work together. We thought a test shoot would be a really good opportunity just to see how we work. And I just went through the list with her and, what's making you excited? And then she clicked with Smoothie Face and Mother Truckers. And I was like, perfect, because they're both just, bonkers and so many moving pieces. It's a perfect like producer infused situation because we've got talent and crew and location and let's do it. So her excitement super fueled my excitement. And then for Mother Truckers, what I did was because I knew I wanted it to be a hybrid campaign, I had like in my head just like a sort of nebulous idea of different moments that I wanted to show, but I just wanted it to be like that moment after you're done riding your skateboard and you're just hanging out and shooting the shit. And so I went on, I think it's Premium Beat. If I can recall the it just keeps repeating that when you find this on Premium Beat or something like that. Or maybe it's soundsomething.com or whatever.
Soundwave or whatever.
Yeah.
Soundstripe.
It's the audio watermark on the so don't quote me on which one it is, but I found a couple of musicians out in royalty free that I really like. And I was like, I love this song. Let me download it. I bring it into DaVinci. And in DaVinci, then I create like these little blocks of color at different points where I think a transition should happen. So like the first part of that song is this like, there's like a beat that happens and then there's sort of a drawn out moment. And so I'm like, that's where the can comes down and it goes across on the skateboard. And then there's different moments where I feel like the song just craves a change of scene. And so I build it all out and all I do is I just change the color that appears on the screen during the song. And then I go, okay, I know I need something here, 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 here. So how does this, turn into a story or a series of images? And I just make text. This is somebody doing this. This is somebody doing this. This happens here. This happens here. And then I sketch it out and then animate it. And then everybody knows what we need to do. We print it out. And then we do the shoot. No big deal. It's like very simple.
It's so simple. That's so simple. Because everybody thinks that way.
But I believe if you look on Instagram, you can actually see I show the animatic a little bit. Yeah. So you can kind of see how that comes together.
So I think what's interesting here is one, like the brainstorming idea, right? I use chat for various brainstorming ideas. As well.
It comes up with some weird ideas if you let it.
Well, anyways, especially like you were saying, like you had this list and you would have it repeat the list. And sometimes if you say like, hey, if I took like the top 5 ideas and remix them, what would that look like? You know, and it comes up with really wacky stuff. And sometimes it's quite fun. But I love that. I just want to reiterate that for those that are like, oh, I get stuck on ideas or I get stuck on like, I don't know what to shoot. And sometimes it's a matter of like going through things that you have liked on Instagram or Pinterest or Behance or a magazine thing that you read or a book that you like. You can just start there with the brainstorming ideas. It doesn't have to magically appear in your subconscious.
It could be something that you want to try to figure out how to do. You see something in somebody does something with their lighting or they're really interesting with how they do propping or the layout of their composition. And you'd be like, I want to do a shoot that incorporates that, but with my stuff. And that could be a challenge in itself. I'm so sorry for interrupting, but like you're saying, looking at other people's work, I feel like as you're learning, especially, like, how did they accomplish this? Like, it could be they're using gels or something. You're like, how did they get like the rainbow of shadows on the wall? Like, play with that. Yeah.
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 I did a whole shoot just to learn how to do that.
Yeah. We all do, I think, right?
Because you're like, oh, you could do that tricolor thing? Like, that's so cool.
And it is.
Yeah, it never gets old either.
Yep.
But I love this idea of like, you went to music first.
Yeah.
Right. And that is actually what drove the story. One, both for stills, but also for video, because you had to think about how does that stitch together. So how did you bring in a DP? Did you bring in, were you the DP and you just brought in a camera person? So like, what did that crew piece look like to all of this, and the casting? Because you needed people who were willing to either pretend to ride on a skateboard or actually ride a skateboard.
That's like 3 questions. So to try and get talent together, at the beginning of the year, I put together a video, and it's still out on Instagram in the event that anyone sees it and says, I'd love to work with you. But it was like, I was like, I need talent. I need people who look like this. I don't care what age you are, da, da, da. I'm here in Florida. I'm looking for hair, makeup, wardrobe, set design. And anyone who reached out and was interested, that was great. And then through the producer, she had a friend over here on this coast, because I'm on the East Coast of Florida, who is sort of like a consultant for talent. So she's not an agent, but she's a consultant, and she has access to all kinds of people. So she was a fabulous resource, especially for mother truckers, but she helped bring all the talent together. Like, there were people who reached out, and then she filled out the rest by sending over talent. We combed through that. And these were people who were willing to show up for the day, excuse me, and work with me. And then I gave them photos in exchange. So not only did they get assets from the shoot, but I did try to give them extra shots as well for their book.
That's cool. Yeah. Like, you know, exchange for imagery is always a fun thing.
Absolutely.
I just did a test shoot where I did the same thing. And one of the models asked, well, because we used a real brand in the shoot.
Yeah.
And they said, well, if that brand's, and I told them, I said, look, if the brand decides to license the images, like, we will negotiate so that you guys get paid, because you're the models that are modeling the product.
Yeah.
So just a little side note there for those that are like, well, how do you do that?
Yeah. I feel like I have not gone to the point of doing that part, because I had a very lengthy conversation with my GPT friend, and I was like, okay, so the logistics of trying to negotiate and figure out, like, what if they, like, I get it, and it's a thing, and I think it's important. If you can get it licensed, go for it. But like, you want to make sure that you're not just paying yourself, but then there's you got the crew and the talent, and you got, everybody else who was involved in that. And how do you dish it out? It's hard, because you also still had expenses. Like, those shoots were not free. So like, I paid to do them.
Which I think is something important for people to understand. Like, one is, if you want to grow your creative book and you want to expand your creativity into a new area, like, there is expenses.
Yeah. Because like, we still have to eat. People have to be fed. I'm so sorry.
No. I was going to say, like, you've got catering, but you probably also have props, or, the clothing that you can't return.
Yes. Yeah. And like, there are certain people that you want to team up with who are getting called away for jobs, but they want to team up. And so you might put a little bit of budget where you've agreed to like a lower rate for the day. But, most people are donating their time. Some people can't because they're super, super busy, and I don't know. There's just, there's a certain nuance
if they're holding
there.
for you, for you for a free day, and then they get asked to like come and get their day rate somewhere else, and they're like, hey, like, I really want to do this thing with you, but I could go make X number of dollars over here, and I need to pay my bills.
Yes. And I've tested with people who have had extenuating circumstances, and they're like, I just can't do it for free. So there's certain circumstances where you have to pay, but also I did a studio shoot. So that was a 2-day shoot. One day was mother truckers, and the other day was smoothie face. Just a bunch of garbage.
Right, the stuff in the teeth. Yes.
But that one I had to pay for the studio. And I still paid for lunch. There was, in both cases, there's some wardrobe that can't be returned, all that stuff. So I think between the 2 shoots, plus I've traveled to do that shoot, so I had expenses for Airbnb and food for myself too. But like, But in contrast, the pomegranate, it was the cost of the pomegranate. Oh, and I think some styrofoam and some wire. So that was not a big dive. Sometimes you can do these grand things, and I needed to do these grand shoots because I love lifestyle and I love working with people. But like, people see a lot of food in my portfolio. People see a lot of, very specific, tight, minimal product specific shots in my portfolio, and they don't see the people. And I'm like, oh, please let me just work with people. So, I have to make that happen. Those are expensive shoots to coordinate if you want to have your hand on every detail. But like, if you just want to explore light and composition and just like the beauty of simple things, Produce Paradise is what that series came from. And it's just like, just go to the produce aisle and see what's gorgeous. I had asparagus that was really pretty. I had a red onion. I did go foraging and I grabbed some chanterelles because they are very photogenic. Can't find those in the store. Although there's a health food store in Wisconsin I can find them in the summer.
All right. All those that are in Wisconsin, you lucked out.
Yeah. Wild berry all the way up north. And you go there and they'll have them sometimes in the summer. But like, you don't have to make it super complex. Sometimes you just need to get behind the camera and play. And you can learn a lot just by doing those shoots. I learned so much doing that shoot. It was insane. And it was literally just what you see in that photo. But it was like a turning point for me about masking. And please, I do not need any more offers for clipping services. Thank you. Are you getting those too?
I do. I get them every day.
Like
I get them every day in my email and in my LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn, phone calls, text messages, WhatsApp. It's happening everywhere. But that was a big shift because I'd be like, oh, I like the color I shot this one against. And then, but if I could just shift it a little so the background's just a little. And I think, especially since Capture One has come out with AI masks, I apologize to people who are very anti-AI, but their masking tool in Capture One is fabulous. I'm sorry. It
makes
really
I mean,
good.
the thing is that we've been using AI in our editing tools since the first version of Photoshop. So
yes,
like, now some tools are just way smarter. Like the Magic Wand is much smarter. The AI masking tool in Capture One, much smarter. And it's just,
did you know the Heal tool is AI?
Yes.
It's just
the Heal tool, the patch tool. I mean, we've had Liquify for years.
There's so many tools that we use all the time. Yeah.
They are
huge time saver.
They're very smart, those tools.
Yeah. It's like they come right out of your brain. You're like, I want this little speck to do that. Although sometimes it's like, but I really like this dust spot. You're like, no. All right, let me get rid of the dust spot I think you're mirroring. Okay, now. Okay, good.
Yeah, sometimes it gets a little funky. But I do think that what we're talking about when it comes to tools, intelligent tools, right? Is that it pushes that idea of our creativity, that vision that we have where we started kind of this conversation, right? It pushes that vision forward. But the thing I want to touch on, so I mean, we touched on your pomegranates, and I love that you learned more about masking.
Yes.
And color grading, and being able to kind of bring these ideas to life. And one started with music, which I still find so fascinating. And the other just like wandering through the produce department. But it's like, what did you do with this when you were done with it?
Well, I turned it into a whole thing. I think originally, I sent it out as an email and that was it, right? Like, cause that's actually a year or two old, that shoot is. So, but I put it into an email. I think the purpose was just so I'd have something new to send out. And was just like, look, here's some produce. Isn't it pretty? Have a good day.
I'm sure it said something better than that. You probably asked your chat friend.
Oh, no, this was pre-chat friend. So this is pre-chat friend. This is pre-consulting. This is pre-everything. And I was just like, I hope you like these. I wish you would talk to me. Bye. I learned a lot about marketing in the last year and a half. so like, I'm pretty sure that's what I did. And then I posted them on Instagram, but I didn't like, if you go farther back in my feed, you'll probably see where I first posted them. It was like, I really think this is pretty. And that, and then a bunch of hashtags. And that was like how I was handling Instagram and marketing at the time. Was just like, I hope somebody sees this and likes it. And that was like,
that was your ultimate
method.
goal.
Yes. Yeah.
Your goal was like, are people seeing it? That was your matrix. Yeah.
Here it is. It's in your inbox. I hope you open it. Bye.
I'll talk to you later. All right. So how did that story change?
Yeah. Well, so many ways. So I did consulting with Lisa Marie Shires, which you've probably seen her all over Instagram because she is a marketing machine herself. And the process was extraordinarily painful. And I was angry through most of it because it was just like, this sucks. I don't know what you're talking about. This makes no sense. And then you realize that like the reason it sucks and it's confusing is because it's not how you're operating right now. And you're, like her messaging is very much about identifying what you bring that's unique to a project or to your work and putting that out there and like how you work benefits the people who want to hire you. And changing the conversation from hi to, hey, let me tell you something about myself.
Yeah.
So
right.
Creating more of a conversation. And then I wrapped up with my consulting with her at the end of the year last year, and then started diving into what potentially was going to be kind of around the corner with like LinkedIn and things like that. As far as like what was going to garner the most attention. And it was sort of like carousels are going to be huge. Okay. So what do I do with a carousel? Well, you can just throw a bunch of images together. And I think if you go back in my Instagram, you'll see like, here's some pictures. And then, and then I just got into, you know what? I'm always super curious what people are doing on set or what they're doing in the computer or how they're thinking through things. I don't care. Look at what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it. Maybe you'll find something cool. Because I don't think anybody owns anything in a certain degree. Like I remember, because I started off with stock photography too. So that was like another part of my learning curve was going out there. And if it sold, it was like, oh, I did good. And if it didn't, it was like, I don't know. But I remember at the time I was doing these grids of products or not products, but grids of things, items. And it was called Knolling, Knolling. It was like a thing. Like you could, I think there's another word for it, but it's like a fancy grid-based flat lay. And I had a bunch of stuff that was like antiques and vintage stuff. And somebody in the group at Stocksy was like another photographer was like, look, this guy's stealing your style. I'm like, it's not a style. Like, I don't own putting things in a grid. Like, I don't own that. Nobody owns that. It's not my thing. But they were very protective. And I was like, I appreciate it. But like, genuinely,
yeah,
I don't own that. And then there was another time that there was another photographer and me. We had the same idea at the same time, but mine got up first and they booted his work out. And I was like, I don't think you need to do that. I can't remember what it was specifically. I think I'd done a whole series of like gold eggs for like Nest Egg, and it was conceptual and very minimal, very, very much like what I do now. And I did this whole series, and he had like the same, there's no way that he saw what I did and then shot and then uploaded it the next day. Not a chance. If so, I'm supposed to meet up with him soon. I haven't ever met him in person, but he lives in Orlando now. And it's like, oh yeah, we could totally meet up.
Let's talk like, eggs.
Yeah. I finally got the egg shoot right. I did the assignment finally, like 20 years later. But I think they gave him a hard time, and I think they made him take it down. And I was just like, I don't think that's right. Because we aren't the same photographer.
Yeah.
And like,
it's going to look different.
It's going to look different. It's stock photography. Like maybe they like my hard shadows. I can't remember if he did hard shadows or soft. It doesn't matter. Like it wasn't identical. It was like the same concept. There's certain things that you're going to do. Like, you're going to put cream into coffee. You can't be mad at somebody else who puts cream into coffee, and watches it go through the ice cubes. Like, there's just things that happen in life and nobody owns it. And I feel that way too about how I go about creating work. Like, what I do, it's just how I do it. And you can look at how I do it, and you might find something about that clicks for you, and you might try something. Like, I did that infinity grilled cheese pull, and I showed like that I used my shirt as the chroma key screen. It was so much fun. I'm like, hell, people, you go play with something. Look at how simple it is. You could do something really complex, but it's simple at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about your forever cheese pool is the fact that, one, it was just you again.
Well, and a food stylist. I did not grill the cheese.
Yeah. And a food stylist. But I mean, for the most part, it was a much simpler set than what we were talking about with Mother Truckers.
Yes.
But like when you said like, oh, I used my shirt, I was like, that's genius. Like, how come, like, sometimes I'm always like, oh, I don't have that color, or I don't have whatever. I don't have that thing. And then I'm like, oh, but I do have a gray, like, bed sheet.
Yes.
I could use my gray bed sheet as my gray
Just
background.
drape it on yourself, though. Don't try to reach around it. So the infinity cheese pull came from an infinity cookie idea I had earlier, like 6-9 months earlier, but I did it with video. And I was like, I had it like hanging from these hooks that I sprayed green, and I had chroma green behind, and I was behind that and then trying to reach around and get the cookie. And it was a mess, and I paid to have all of the rigs taken out. It was like $1,800. At the time, I was making good money, so I was like, if this works, it'd be amazing. And then the infinity cheese pull, I was like, let's just make this easier and just do it as stop motion. And I could cut out the background in Photoshop. And like, I didn't like reaching around I had a little square background. I didn't like reaching around that because it got in the way, and then the light would hit it because I'd bump into it. And I was like, just put a shirt on. Like, just simplify it all. I don't have to reach around the shirt, So there were reasons why, like, it wasn't like a perfect, like, it was because no happened first. And then I was like, no, we do it right. So
yeah, it's kind of like you had to fail. You were like, okay, we tested this. I didn't like this. We tested that. I didn't like this. We tested this. Oh, wait, that worked.
Yeah. And I thought even if that failed, I thought at least I'd have a really pretty grilled cheese pull. I'd have one. Yeah, I have actually a bunch.
They're very good. They're very good cheese pulls. So you went through the marketing consulting to learn kind of how to talk about what you do so you can make your work
nice about myself.
Well, and not just like you said, like not just say like, hi, I'm Suzanne, I shoot food. Hope you like this.
Bye.
See you later. I'll be back next month. Right. So to give people a little more context about who you are, how you think, how you show up on set, pull in those stories that we started with, right? Like your artist background, your graphic design, the fact that you can actually sketch, which is so important for like coming up with like video, right? Because you're leaning more into that world too, and doing these blended hybrid shoots. Like you have that skill. Not everybody has that skill. Some people have to outsource that skill.
You can even just do stick figures.
That's
it
me.
Doesn't have to. Yeah, it doesn't have to be color and da 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 da. Like I've done things where it's a squiggle, and I hand it to the food stylist, and they go, "Yeah, okay, cool," and they know where to put stuff. So it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It just has to be an approximation. It could be like a treasure map, like
right. How to get to the X. Yes. But when we get back to this marketing piece, because the thing is that I think people, this growth that you've had in a relatively short period of time, even though you've been shooting for way longer than this, I think is really a key piece I want people to take away is that you could always expand your knowledge. You can gain and try and like this whole trial and error thing. Like we were just talking about trial and error with your forever cheese pool, but this trial and error with like, how do you market on social media, whether that's Instagram or LinkedIn or your website, right? Or putting it on Behance as like a project or sharing.
Oh my God, I don't do that, but I should.
Well, like, so there's this whole thing about
Yeah.
like, how do you market your stuff? Whether it's I hope people see it, which is kind of the LinkedIn, Instagram world, versus
Passive.
like, which is like, the one-to-one stuff where you're sending a direct email to someone to say like, I did this thing, I want you to see it. You're showing up in their inbox. You've had this kind of exponential growth in that over the last, we'll say 3 years. So you've now figured out how to kind of talk about your story.
Yes.
You're unencumbered by sharing your BTS, your behind the scenes, for those that don't know, that's what that means. And and then you kind of take it a step farther, which is when I was like, holy shit, Suzanne is using automation. This is really effing cool. Because it blends all of that, what I just talked about, together. It's kind of the stopgap between the passive marketing on social and the active one-to-one marketing. So talk about, where did that come from? What was that kind of trial and error for you? What have you learned by doing it?
So you're talking about the
mini
previs.
So like taken. When you are like, when you post on like for Instagram, for instance, and you're like
chat.
Sorry. Comment the word, right? Like put,
Do you know I just got rid of it.
Well, okay, so let's go back, and then and then how did we get to where we are today? So one is that you were using it so people could actually discover and go deeper into your work.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And I'm curious if you were just doing was that, I can't remember, because I mean, I've done them on your site, but I can't remember now off the top of my head. Was it taking me to a project page on your website? Was it taking me to an orphan page? Was it taking me to a Google Doc? I don't remember.
It could be. I did all those things. So so they're all disconnected now, because I decided to cut back on that expense. It was mostly like other photographers that were really curious. And then that was sort of like, ooh, maybe I should do some consulting on that side, because people are really curious about the process. So that's like sort of like a little side spin-off, but that kind of came from that. But what I was doing was writing the whole Instagram and doing the carousel, and then being like, do you want to see more about like the ideation behind this, or the retouching behind this, or the Da Vinci, watch how I put the Da Vinci together. And so like, as I was doing these projects, these test shoots, I was being mindful during the process of like retouching or editing or whatever, like, let me get a screen grab or screen recording while I'm doing this, because this might be interesting to somebody, so they could see how I do this. And so in ManyChat, which is like an add-on for Instagram, excuse me, you can make like a keyword that will trigger response into I think it goes onto the timeline first. And it's like, hey, check out your DMs. But you can change the text. You'd be like, yo, right. Your DMs are hot right now. Go check them out. Whatever.
With an emoji fire.
Firecrackers. And so then it encourages them to go in there, and then it will send them a DM, which is like a link to a page, a document, of whatever. And the hope is there to start a conversation and keep the conversation going. So for me, I have a love but mostly hate relationship with Instagram. Like, I hate it. It sucks my soul, but I also love seeing my creative friends and what they're doing. But like, I post and I want to disappear, and then I'll come back like a day later and respond. Or sometimes I forget, but I will come back. It's not that I don't appreciate the comments, but I need like the headspace, because otherwise it's an obsessive thing. Like, not enough people responded, or
it's that dopamine piece.
Yeah. So I have to purposefully post and walk away, and then just come back later when I'm not invested in the outcome. So ManyChat was sort of a buffer for that. It allowed for the conversation to start, and then I could come back in later and be like, what did you think of the document? Which was something I started kind of doing later, because I was like, well, that's still a dead end. Like, ManyChat does this, and then you get the document. You might say, oh, that's cool. And I go, thanks. And then it just, so there should be a little bit more to that process. And I think if you're going to use it, definitely use it as a tool to keep the conversation going, like to start the conversation, but then you still have to be a human.
Right. There needs to be a human touch there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what's fascinating for me is, one, I loved seeing your creative process. Like I was always super jazzed when you put a new one up and you were like, hey, comment this. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to get to like peek inside Suzanne's brain. Like, this is so cool. So just so you know, like I loved it. And I get that like photographers want to see what other photographers are doing.
Yes. Yeah.
But how did you package that up? Okay, before I ask that question, did you ever notice like creative directors or art directors or, anybody that would be like on a brand side or creative side that actually looked at it? Or
not much. They were more there, like they're interested in the pre-pro process. Like, what are you going to bring to shoot day or pre-production that's going to make it easy for them? That's what I've noticed mostly, that they're kind of interested in the final product. And then people who are interested in the post, maybe it's a producer, but I don't even like, I think for them, it's sort of
kind of
they just want to know the job's going to run really well. And like, they might see that and be like, okay, they've got their shit together, but they're not like, ooh, how did she do this? Because I feel like, like how the ecosystem in tech and software is so different between stills and video. And if you imagine like you're a designer and you're an illustrator and InDesign and whatever, well, now you're asking them to look at Capture One. You're asking them to look at DaVinci or,
right.
Like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't know the lingo. I don't know the details. Like some people might, but I think for a lot of it, it's us that are like, ooh, that's cool. What is that tool? What is that plugin? Or what is that,
yeah.
What is that little thing that she's doing there? Like, I think we get into that. Even just like where the lights are placed on set. Like we're like, ooh, show me that again. Rewind, press and hold, pause. Always looking at how other people are setting up their lights. Just it's always such a curious thing. Like, I love that shot. Oh, the set is only 3 feet by 3 feet.
And they used one light and just moved it around and then stitched all the photos together.
It gives me chills, but I think that's for us. I think that's a lot of us. And like, I don't have a problem sharing that, but I didn't feel like ManyChat was a good investment for that. Like, it wasn't.
The client side.
Yeah.
So how did you then, what would you do basically off of social, right? How would you package that same kind of content up, maybe obviously differently, to share with your list or your one-to-one or that producer or art director or brand manager, to say like, hey, like I did this shoot and here's the story behind it, or here's how I can help you like take your vision further, or whatever.
Some of that is on my website. I have like a couple, I think it's under projects, not assignments. Assignments are like client based, and then projects can be client based, but those ones do sort of a deep dive. Like, here's the parameters. This is what we were looking to accomplish. This is how much time we had in the day. This is what crew we had. Here's the sketches we started with and why we made these sketches. And then here's the library of images at the end. Because I feel like when you're a creative director or producer or whatever, you want to see like, what pieces did it take? Like, who showed up? Who brought what happened? Here's the result. Not, ooh, how did you retouch it?
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a reverse treatment in a way.
Yeah. Let me regurgitate it and arrange it.
Like, because I mean, if you were triple bidding a job and you were asked to put a treatment together, which we should all be paid for, I'm just going to throw that little caveat in there.
It'd be so nice. I would have made so much money this year.
Right. For all the jobs you had to do treatments for and then didn't get picked.
Yeah.
Let's just let that one settle for a minute. Let everybody really think about that, all the time and energy and free work we put into when they probably have already picked the person to do the job.
They already knew who they wanted. Yes.
And then they're just like, hey, can you come bid this? Like, we really love your work. And you're like,
we just need another set of numbers. Thank you.
Need another set of numbers. So I'm not going to put a treatment
it would be so nice if they would say that, because then you could just be like, I just have a standard, here's who I am. This is my work.
I started this much money.
Yeah.
But if you think about it after the shoot, right? Like a treatment is like, here's how I'm going to take your creative and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And this is the production that I'm going to do. And here's how I see and maybe you do a lighting sketch and maybe you do a few little mood boards. And depending on how intense or how big or small, you might get into casting and the crew that you're going to pull in and all of that good stuff.
Styling. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, here's ideas for backgrounds, and here's like what I'm thinking for glassware, and here's where I'm thinking for location.
Look at this fork.
Yeah. This is the most amazing fork. It costs $100 a fork, but we're using 7 of them. Yeah.
Yes.
But when you're looking at it from the finished and kind of saying like, okay, here's where the idea was, this is what we kind of set out to do. And then you're like, now we can put all these pieces back into kind of that treatment to say like, we said we were going to do this, and here's actually what we did. And here's what we said we were going to produce, and here's what we did. I think it's kind of a cool, I hadn't thought about that. I did Pitch Essentials, which is a course that I'm running with Rachel at Two Love Studio. And we talked about the different styles of pitches that you need. There's not just one, but there's really probably 4. And, but this kind of would be like the reverse of that, to kind of show what you did after you pitched and got the project, and then how did that all come together. So I think you could package that up and then send that as an email to people to say, hey, look at what I did. It's really cool.
My emails are usually like if you see the Instagram these days, I'm now putting text with it and being like, here's the concept instead of just a photo. And so like the emails that I'm sending out to potential clients is a version of that with text that like pulls you through, tells you the story, usually in a kind of a snarky way.
No, snarky. What?
In my email, there's all these like, download a PDF, So there's like I use Pitch, which is my favorite software, and I can't transfer it into Google. I just can't do it. I'm trying to do Google Slides and I can't.
So Pitch is what? Like a slide deck series?
Yeah, but it's so
software?
elegant. Mm-hmm. And you can embed video into it and then send it out as a link, and it just plays instead of like when you try to send out, and I'm not as well versed in Google Slides, but like when you send it out, you either have to publish it or you send them the presentation and it's got all of the slides and you're, okay, fine. But Pitch, you have more control. Like as a designer, or former designer, when we went to these mobile devices and iPads from the computer, now everything had to fit, and we were just like, we've lost control of the way it looks because now it's got to do this and now it's got to do this, and you're like, but we've all gotten very used to that. But Pitch really satisfies that part of the designer in me that's like, I just want it to look like this, okay? Like you click on it, and it has
I want it to be horizontal.
Just keep it horizontal. That's how I've designed it, and it all you do is it plays, and you can play video right inside it, and it can come from Vimeo, so it's still vertical and it doesn't have a box around it and all this nonsense. Like it's just more refined and more elegant than Google Slides. And it has some metrics that you can pay extra for, which I don't, because I don't need to see that you didn't open it.
Yeah. Right.
I don't need the reminder of how low the actual click rate is.
Are you using an email program to embed the pitch into, or is it coming from Pitch to somebody?
So I design all of my this is something I do that I don't know if I recommend it, but it's what I do, because everybody else is like using everybody uses like Constant Contact or MailChimp or something like that, and instantly when you use a service like that, you're cutting down your open rate by like 30%, because there's coding in there that tells the recipient that this is a newsletter. And because I did my best friend ChatGPT and I did a lot of testing and we tested through rates and things like that. And because the method I have been doing for like 3 years is manual email. If you get an email from me, I pressed the send button.
Right. So you're doing very curated one-to-one email.
Yeah. That doesn't mean I don't have a list of 500 to 700 people.
No. But, I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want people to know that it's not, I'm not emailing 5 people. Yeah.
Right. And at the same time, you're not doing mail merge.
Oh.
Through Google.
But I'm not using, yes. So I use a Google Workspace email. And every time before I send email, I check and make sure and validate the email. Because otherwise Google will shut me down if I get too many bounces. Like, thank you to the big merge now that just happened to all those agencies, and now all your email addresses have changed.
Yeah, thanks.
But I will be updating that. But like, so I have to go through and I validate every email address before I send it out. And I can mail merge, so I'll send like 10 emails at a time, but I'm clicking on your name. I'm like, okay, these 10 people, send. These 10 people, send. But I'm doing it manually. Yeah.
So you're chunking it out basically into mini mail merges. You're not going like, here's my list of 500 and sending.
You do it. Yeah.
And one of the things I want to just call out, one is I think that's amazing because you are hand selecting. So if you're going through your list and you're like, this project is, I don't know, like your smoothie project. Okay. So let's just take like your smoothie project. So you might be going through and being like, okay, I'm going to send it to these 10. And then you're like, hey, you know what? I know Darren's like not really in doing food right now. Like he's on tech, like he's doing computer stuff on HP. This doesn't really need to go to him. So you can actually be like, nope, let's not do Darren. Let's just send it to this person. Right. So you could, you could hand select.
I know these people too, because I validate them every month and I go to their LinkedIn and I see, oh, they've moved to a new company. I've got a new email for them then, But like I get to know people, like your profile photo on LinkedIn.
Baked into your brain. Yeah.
Totally baked in.
You're like, you're occupying space in my brain.
I need that space back.
You could remember phone numbers again if you had the space.
Day. Yeah, exactly.
But I love this idea. It's something that I fully believe in is like the smaller the list, the better it is. These days of like mass mailing like thousands of people
it's not spray and pray.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of antiquated. So I like that you have really thought about like you've curated a really great tight list of the people you want to stay fully engaged with, fully in front of. And like kudos for you for validating those emails every single
There's a service that you can use too, because I used to do it manually, literally just before I hit send, I'd go to LinkedIn and check, and then I'd hit send, and that would take me days to send out my newsletter, days. And now I use, is it Zero Bounce or Never Bounce? So you can export your list. Yeah, write it down. I see you. But do it. It's a freaking amazing tool. And it will analyze your list. It'll tell you if you have any spam filters on there, because there are people like there's certain emails that like are known for spam abuse. Now I have people who are on a do not email, but they've been on my list forever. They've never complained, so they seem to want to see what I'm sending them. Yeah. And then there's catch-all. It'll flag any catch-all emails. So in the industry, somebody goes on maternity leave or they're on vacation, they can forward their email to somebody else who can keep an eye on it. You see that a lot when you send out a newsletter, like, oh, I'm away. If you need anything, contact so-and-so. But it also happens if somebody leaves a company and they don't want to lose any incoming emails that could be project related, but it's basically a dead end for you as a creative trying to reach out to these folks. So it can help flag any catch-all. And then anything that's invalid, like it bounces or doesn't work, it will tell you. And so instead of like then putting the list back up online into my CRM, I just know it's like 5 people who just came up as invalid. Let me just check. Okay, yeah, this person moved, and then I can just update and send. It's much faster than.
Yeah, I mean, you're now checking you're checking 1% instead of 100%.
Yes, exactly. And so that's a little bit like automation. Like I've automated that part through that service, which is way helpful. Yeah.
Which sounds like something worthy to pay for versus ManyChat.
Yes. Also Zero Bounce, like it's cheap. So compared to ManyChat, because ManyChat is every month. Zero Bounce is how many credits you need for how many contacts you have. It's like pennies. It's well worth the effort, quote unquote, to export your list and check it.
Man, yeah, I'm gonna do that next week. I'm gonna get on that.
Do it. It's a great service.
Yeah, I was like, where was this information like 5 years ago?
Exactly.
Maybe it didn't exist. Who knows?
But GPT suggested it, by the way, because I was talking.
Go chat.
This is yes. So I'm talking to GPT. I'm like, I need to talk through some of my pain points. This is something that really drives me nuts. Every time I send out a, newsletter, it takes me about a week and a half because I'm sending out every email. And it was like, well, you should use a service like this or this or this. And it did suggest an option cheaper than MailChimp. And it was like, this one's really great because it does all this automation. It checks your emails before you send it down, I went down a totally massive rabbit hole. And that's when I did all this testing and did all like the, checking for potential open rates and block rates from different email services and stuff. Like GPT walked me through how to do all of this stuff. And we did it. We were buds, man. We were like thick as thieves, checking stuff and testing stuff and looking for like the best way through. And it was like, you want to make sure that you have your Gmail set up just right so that when their service pings your service, it can see that you have all these securities in place and all these things are just right. So you're totally whitelisted. Like these are things you wouldn't think to do. And it's like, do all of these things, then do this. And then I was like, I didn't like how this turned out because it cut my open rate by 30%. And it was like, oh, well, then maybe we stick to what you're doing, but we can do it this way. And we just cut these like pain points out. So it can talk you through some of your marketing stuff that is so painful because it's so repetitive and sometimes it feels very unrewarding. Find a way to make it easier on your psyche and on your time as much as possible. And GPT was very helpful in walking through that stuff.
And I think that plays back into this whole idea of, we get into it, we want to be creative. We like the creative side. I mean, yeah. I'm a blend of the analytical creative because I started numbers. I'm a numbers kind of nerd.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I got into the creative side. But for those that mainly get into it, it's like, you kind of have this art side and you're like, I just want to create. I just want to be in front of the camera. I don't want to make art. I don't really want to deal with the business side. But the big part of our business besides
is the business.
is the business. And like, I've said this at least 3 times now on this podcast, like one email does not make a marketing plan. And so creating a way to make email marketing easier. And so you can show up and you could show up and do the work, but you can also show up in people's inboxes, I think is so important to what you were saying.
Yeah. Like you need to actually arrive in the inbox. You have to get there. So like you can't just send the email and hope that it made it.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, I think, I've heard various things from like the email services before. I've seen those stats too of like, if you're using Flowdesk or MailerLite or whatever, that you're potentially, in one way you're kind of crippling yourself before you even get there.
Yes.
But to that point, like there's also all this other stuff that you have to do if you're going to do it through your direct mail service, through like your Google in this case, or Outlook or whatever. There's also steps you need to take to make sure that you are set up for the best success. So it is kind of that, yin yang thing, like choose your battle.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let me give you a couple more tips on that side.
Yeah.
So
I'm writing all these down.
There is a service that will warm up your email. So like, let's say, like I said, I'm using Gmail, which I am, but I'm using Gmail with my domain name. So it's still Suzanne at SuzanneClements.com. So they're not getting my Gmail account that I use for day to day. But and I've been using that forever.
It's a paid email account that is a professional account.
Own the domain name, and it's not a goofy little, like I'm not using Hotmail or something. I've seen you Hotmail users out there.
Hey, I still have a Hotmail account. What are you talking about?
It's fine. But I will call you out when you send me your invoice in this Hotmail and be like, come on.
Well, it would be coming from my ShellyWellman.com account.
There you go. Exactly. But so there's a service, I can't remember what it's called, but it will warm up your email account. So let's say you're like, you know what? I'm going to start fresh. I've been using Gmail. Gmail will bounce. AOL should bounce. AOL will bounce. Hotmail will bounce.
Yahoo?
Any of that. Prodigy, does that still exist? But like any of that stuff is already sort of red flagged as it's too easy for a bot to get a hold of and make something out of this and start spamming. So you want it to be from your domain name. If you haven't been emailing from your domain name and all of a sudden you just jump into their inbox, there's no email history anywhere on the internet for that email address. So there's a warm-up service. I can't remember what it's called, but you can probably Google it because I started working on like a secondary one that I was going to use through like the MailChimp similar. And so I was warming it up. And what it does is over the span of however much time, weeks or months, as you want to do this, you want to be hurrying up and get it done. So you can have it do it over like a span of weeks. It just sends emails back and forth and shows that there's like a conversation happening on that email address, that it's a real person, even though it's not. It's like making fake conversation back and forth so that when you actually go to start sending your newsletter or any emails to try to engage potential clients, like one-to-one, where you're like, hey, I just saw your campaign. This is awesome. I think I could do amazing stuff with you. We'd make an awesome team. Here's why. That email actually makes it into their inbox, and it doesn't show up as like, nope, this seems fake, because they have no history. Just like when you get a comment in Instagram or Facebook or somewhere and you go and check out who it is, and it's like somebody who's got 2 posts and 3 friends. You're like, suspect. So you don't want the same thing to happen to your email. You use a warm-up service if you're starting fresh. Big key.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So just put that into the old percolator or the to-do list if you're moving over to a actual domain name email. Yeah. Ta-da.
All right.
GPT taught me that.
So now we know how to, if you're going to your actual domain name that you own, and you can warm up your list while you build out your list that you then can check against zero bounce to see if those people are still there at those email addresses before you use mail merge to then, before we even get to the mail merge, then we
haven't even talked about that. Yeah.
we have to make sure that we walk through and make sure that our email is set up for success.
Yes.
And then there's a whole mail merge thing that you can easily Google, and it will walk you through how to do mail merge in Google.
Yeah. And it depends on what your CRM is. Your CRM might be I use a CRM called Streak. And so that's how I'm doing my mail merge through them. But it's mail merge. What is it called? I don't know. But Streak is what I use to keep track of everything, and it shows me click and open rates and stuff like that.
Are you using the free version or the paid version?
Using the paid version. Dang, I know.
I have the free version.
Yes, yeah. I'm debating. I just really love seeing my click and open rates and stuff like that. I don't. Do you see that on the free version too?
You can see who opened it. I mean, you have to if you're doing, in this case, you're saying like you're doing 10 at a time. So like if let's say over a 5-day, well, maybe it's a 10-day period, and I'm sending 10 a day.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Right. I think it's the send limit. I think that's why I have the paid version.
But I should probably look at that. I could just, I can see who opened it because it gives me the little eyeball, and I can track stuff. And I like that Streak has the snippets, so you can kind of just copy and paste stuff.
And you can do that even just with Gmail too. They have templates as well. It's a very similar thing. Snippets is good. Gmail itself has I think even a slightly better version than the snippets, and it's
inherent. I was just using it before Gmail incorporated.
Yes,
templates.
Same.
Yeah. That's why I was like, now Gmail has a lot of this stuff. Like Gmail didn't have like a delayed send for a long time, which is why you used Boomerang or Streak, and now Gmail has it. Or like, why people were using Calendly is because Gmail didn't have like a booking thing, and now they just rolled that out this year. So
yeah. Gmail's watching. They have it.
We see you. We see you.
Yeah.
And then you're building stuff in Pitch, right? So, and that's what you're putting into this email.
Put it everywhere. You're going to get a pitch from me at some point.
Well, I guess you're building this in, I guess the thing that I'm confused about is we're building an email. You're going to send me this email, right? I'm Shelly at coolcreative.com, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going to send this to me. So I'm opening an email, and is there like an email and then I'm clicking on to open the pitch, or is the pitch like baked into the email?
No. Okay. So the email is designed in HTML. So it's like a whole flow of images and text and whatever. And then at the bottom, there's like, visit my Instagram, do this, do that, do that. At the beginning of the year, I experimented with, would you like a postcard sent to you of this shoot? I got one person who was interested. Postcard hasn't gone out yet, but it will. I just need to finish my reviews for the year, so I have the postcards I need. And it was my coach. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I will get you your postcard. But I found that there wasn't much call for that. But I thought, like, if people wanted it, then I would order the postcards and then I would send them out. So I've since pulled that down, but then I include do you want a PDF of this so that you can put it in whatever folder, because nobody has stuff on their walls anymore. So it's like, however this is going to be easiest for you, you can bookmark a page, you can download a PDF, save the presentation somehow. Just save this link, bookmark it, and you can refer to it later if you need to show your boss, like, this project's really cool, rather than just like, here's an email, And then in that pitch or that PDF, the presentation or PDF, it's just like, here's the concept, really short. On my website, they're very long. But in this, it's very short. It's just like one paragraph, like, here's what the project is, here's the sketches, here's the final result, and this is what it took. And that's it. It's like 4 pages, maybe maximum. But the 4 pages are very image heavy. And I would say like 300 characters per page, maximum. Like, just get it out quick. Yeah.
I love this. And do you have do you try to hit a cadence with how often you're emailing?
Yes.
Like, are you going like once a quarter?
That. No, once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah. And I tried, like, I considered just doing it every other, but then I don't know why stop torturing myself? Let's just keep the machine going, keep shoveling the coal in there.
You got to keep the flames a burning.
I don't know. I'm just going to keep doing it until I stop doing it.
So we're coming up on time here, and this conversation has been so good and so juicy, not to get back to our, fantastic produce conversation.
Yeah.
But there was something that we talked about off before we hit record, which is that these test shoots are happening in the in-between. These test shoots are happening when things are a little bit slow. And you don't always know when you're going to be slow.
That is so true. Or how long you're going to be slow for.
So I'm curious about actually, like, when you are coming up with the shoots. Now, some of these shoots are like, you go to the produce store and you pick up some cool produce and floral wire and come home. And the other shoots are like, I need 18 people on set. So yes. I know that there's like a different gamut here, but give us a little bit of like, just a like, oh, I've been slow, I'm going to do X versus Y.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the big shoots, what you're really trying to do is like reach out into the future, but you want to do it at times when typically we're all a little bit slow. So I was kind of aiming for spring, late winter for a lot of that stuff, because it's like, we're not doing Christmas, we're not doing Halloween, we're not doing Thanksgiving. We might be thinking about, summer holiday stuff, but like, it's not as beefy as the season when we're trying to shoot for the holidays at the end of the year and stuff. So people are kind of slow. You get a sort of litmus from everybody. Is everybody feeling some time that's free? And then we like pick a date, and we're trying to pick either a day during the week when shoots don't typically happen, like Monday, or we try to do it on a weekend, which can be better or worse depending on who you are. So you kind of take a survey of everybody who's interested in playing and be like, what's better, weekdays, weekends, Mondays, Fridays, or whatever. And like, let's just see if we can make it work. Can you hold the date? If you can't hold the date, what do you need for me to guarantee the date? That kind of thing. And then you're planning that shoot weeks out. People need time to shop. We need time to talk. We need time to get everything in place. So like a 2 to 3 weeks out, at least for those guys. Produce is like, I've got 3 days this week. I don't have anything going on. I want to play. I'm going to the grocery store. So yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said for trying to make the best use of that downtime, even though we don't know how long it's going to be for, and maybe building in some balance in there too. Like, we're talking about nothing but marketing, putting ourselves out on Instagram, producing work and putting together treatments and all of that stuff. And like, you could literally just do that. I've spent months and days all the way from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. with no break. Even if I don't have work, I could do that all day. There's a million things like all those rabbit holes I told you about. You could spend all of your time trying to refine your processes, improve your marketing, schedule all of your Instagram. Like, at one time before summer, I scheduled all of my Instagram posts on later and didn't do anything except log in to turn off the like count for the entire summer because I did it ahead of time. Like if you need to build some peace for yourself, you can do that, but you can be as much of a machine as you want, but also be nice to yourself and go out into the woods. Take some time, go for a bike ride, go for a walk. How about you call a friend and see somebody in person? Like, don't spend all your time banging your head against the wall. There's a lot of quiet out there. I think culturally we don't respond to emails anymore. I actually had one of my most recent portfolio reviews, somebody gave me someone's phone number to reach out instead of an email. And I followed up afterwards. I'm like, you sure you don't have an email? And they never wrote back. And I was like, I guess I'll text the number. And they worked. But like, I think our communication techniques and styles and culture is changing constantly. Expect no response until you get a response when you least expect it. And that response can come in the weirdest format as like a photo shoot pitch comes your way to do. And you didn't even know it. And you haven't talked to that person for 6 months, for a year. You've been sending emails. They maybe open them sometimes. And all of a sudden something shows up. So you just have to be nice to yourself and be kind to yourself and realize a lot of people are not getting a response, or they're getting a response. They're like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's always great to get a response. So please still send responses when you want to. But like for those of us who are sending the emails out, just recognize a no response doesn't mean they didn't see it, didn't like it, aren't interested. It just, they don't have anything to say today.
They're just so inundated, right? I mean, you did mention like, you know, a lot of agencies are collapsing in, and we know that photo departments at a lot of publications, you know, it used to be 10 or plus people are now 1 or 2. So we have there's a lot of change in the industry where we have people that had teams of people around them are now one person.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean that the flood of where all these different photographers are now emailing that one person, you know, they just don't have the bandwidth to respond.
Right. Yeah.
Because they still are running around trying to do their work and get their project done and have their internal meetings, right? And get return all the Slack messages.
Yes.
Yeah. You
they're hurting their cats.
And they're trying to fight for the budget that they think that you need, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just because you're not hearing doesn't mean that they don't see you.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God, Suzanne, you just left us with like a masterclass in email and projects and what things we could use to make our lives a little bit easier to validate, and how to get the ideas out of our head and into our camera roll. And for those that want to see all of these fun things that you've been working on, where can they find you? Give us all your places that you want to send the listener to.
Okay, for all the behind the scenes stuff is Instagram. It's Suzanne CGD, like Suzanne Clements Graphic Design, Suzanne CGD, because it used to be graphic design and I didn't change it. So get over it, Suzanne CGD. And then, and I'm not going to change it. I don't even know how. I'm too old for that crap. So then my website is SuzanneClements.com, SuzanneClements.com. I think that's about it. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just Google me. You'll find me. There's links. You go to either of those places, you can get to where you need to go.
And we'll drop it all in the show notes. So some easy places to click out to.
So much better than trying to listen to all that and type it down. Longest name.
Yeah. So you'll see her name will be in the title, and she'll be in the show notes, and you can hop over and check out her amazing work, and definitely give her a follow because she's always up to something fun and on an adventure, whether it's in the grocery store or on her trail.
Yes. And one more thing, if you're interested in consulting, ping me. I have a whole setup for that too. Why not? If you're interested in learning some of the technical stuff, hit me up.
Yeah. Send you a DM. Find her on Instagram, send her a DM. Make her have a conversation with you on Instagram. You know, her place that she loves so much.
If you don't get a response right away, I'm just having a quiet time.
It's okay. That's actually how we usually chat. We're usually DMing each other on Instagram. And if you find yourself in Florida, be sure to give her a shout out and see if you guys can get together in real time, in real life. I think we're all.
I know you're going to be at Disney. Whoever it is, they're going to be at Disney.
Or if they want to just drop them off and not go to Disney.
Yeah. If you don't want to go to Disney, call me.
But this was so much fun. I really appreciate you peeling back the curtain and giving us all this really great knowledge of like how you do it, how it comes together, what does it look like, and how you've been able to level up over the last 4 years from changing your mindset around marketing, changing your mindset around doing test shoots, and kind of embracing the slower times, even though it can be scary and uncertain and hard.
Yeah. It's an adventure.
Yeah. For sure. This creative life is definitely an adventure, but this is why we light the fire and bring people to the conversation so that we all feel a little less alone. That's the whole goal of what we're doing here. And you helped so much, feel like, okay, I'm not alone in this adventure. I'm not doing this all by myself. I can see that there's people doing cool stuff, and, I can reach out and learn a little bit more about how to do it better for me in a way that works for me.
Yeah. See something you like, twist it around.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for being here.
Yes.
It's been so fun.
Likewise. Have an awesome day.
I need to put the fire out for now, but the conversation doesn't have to end here. Come hang out with us on Instagram at creativecamp.pro. Drop your questions, share your thoughts, and tag us in your stories. The more people we gather around the fire, the better the conversation gets. If you'd like to support the show, you can buy us a coffee and sign up for our newsletter. Links are in the show notes below. We'll stoke the fire again real soon, but until then, keep creating, keep connecting, and I'll see you next time around the campfire.